You know, I agree with everything that Patricia's saying. I think she's doing a marvelous job with what may be one of the biggest challenges this office has ever faced. And absolutely the emphasis really has to be on constitutional rights that apply within the context of a particular case, and then also, you know, the rights of any officers who might be on the list. But when we draw back a little bit from it, there are some other issues at stake here. One of them is making sure that the police department knows before they assign personnel to certain duties, when an officer has been deemed by this office to be one we will not call. They need to know that so that they don't put an officer whose credibility is in question in a position where they could have put an officer deemed credible and thereby mess up a case, right? So it has some pretty substantial effects on assisting the police commissioner and the police department in their efforts to make sure the cases that they bring to the DA's office are strong, to make sure that the officers who are involved in making arrests are integrous and are doing the right thing. And as for your second question about making the list public, one of the reasons it's something that we have to look at very carefully is, you know, having met with the head of the FOP and his lawyers, having met with Captain Healy and spoken directly with the police commissioner, we are sensitive to issues like payroll numbers. No need to disclose that. It can subject an officer possibly to hacking or efforts to get at their finances. Location of assignment. We don't see any reason to disclose that. It could potentially expose an officer to being locatable to, you know, people both safe and unsafe. We take that seriously, and we also take it seriously that, you know, everybody should be entitled under appropriate circumstances to a second chance. And there's a big difference between someone who had an out-of-county DUI a decade ago, a police officer, successfully completed diversion, and someone with a very long record well documented by the FBI for corruption, right? So we take all that very seriously, but we also take seriously the plight of the defendant who's sitting in jail after 20 years, has no attorney, and who would not automatically be notified of this information, and therefore there may be some value in having an accessible way for an unrepresented person who is, you know, confined in a jail to be able to see if there is new information about the officer, the detective, whoever, who was, or maybe even the prosecutor, who was instrumental in that person's incarceration.
And that, in both of your minds, is an essential part of this. That if people are in jail, you're going to get them. Because, quite frankly, I don't think the feds have that process in place.
Well, we are, you know, we cannot let perfect be the enemy of good. We have to move as quickly as we can on issues that have been at best ignored for decades in this office. And so we hope that people will understand that if we're getting some of it right today and more of it right tomorrow, that we are doing the best we can to go in the right direction, and to be careful about the balance we have to strike on the rights of everyone involved.